Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how you can make your own AI smart companion in Unity Engine. You may have seen how in games like Minecraft, players can have their own dog that follows them around and acts like their own companion. I'm going to teach you how you can use Unity's AI NavMesh system in order to create a similar smart companion in your own Unity games. So without further ado, let's get on with the tutorial. Firstly, you're going to want to make a new Unity project. Make sure that it's 3D and in the version that I have because some of the older versions don't have NavMesh. Next, we're going to head to the Unity asset store. We're going to get a terrain asset, and this is the one that I used. We're also going to have a player asset, and we're going to have a dog asset. Make sure that you download and import them into your Unity scene. Once you've downloaded and imported these assets into your project, make sure that you open the scene in the Simple Nature Pack demo. Then open Package Manager in Unity. Make sure that you toggle Unity Registry and then import and download the AI Navigation package. This includes the AI NavMesh components that you would need for this project. Next, with the scene open, make sure to navigate to the demo terrain. In the terrain object, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a NavMesh surface component. This component is going to allow the NavMesh system to be able to understand and know what the terrain is like so that the agents can walk around and your companion can navigate it. In the NavMesh surface, make sure that you have the required settings that I have here. Notably, make sure that you have collect objects toggled to all game objects and include layers everything. Next, click the bake option right there. Once you bake the surface, make sure that drag and drop that dog prefab, whatever you want your companion to be, into the scene. I picked a corgi. Then, I'm going to add a rigid body, which will give it physics. And then let's add a box collider so that it can collide with other objects in the scene like the terrain or the player. Make sure that the box collider perfectly encapsulates whichever dog you pick. Then I'm going to add a NavMesh agent component to this dog. Make sure that the NavMesh agent on your companion has similar settings to what I have. Notably, I set the speed to 3.5, the stopping distance to 2. Make sure to increase the stopping distance. By default, it's 0, but you're gonna want to make it something like 2 or 3 so that it doesn't, so that it stops a little bit at a distance from your player. And then once that's done, you should be good to go with adding the necessary components to your pet. Then we're going to open up that script in VS Code. In Visual Studio Code, make sure that you are using Unity Engine and UnityEngine.ai at the header of your script because we're going to be using methods and other variables from that. At the beginning of your script, you're going to want to create two private variables, destination game object and the agent. The agent is the NavMesh agent component on the pet. And then in start, make the destination the player because we're going to want the dog to follow the player around, just like in Minecraft or other games. Whatever AI companion you have, you're going to want it to follow the player around. And then we're going to have the agent be get component NavMesh agent. So this is going to be allowing the script to access the NavMesh agent on the dog or whatever companion you have. And then in update, we're going to do agent.setDestination, destination.transform.position. This is basically using Unity Engine's AI inbuilt method. 60 times every second, it's telling the dog, hey, make sure that you navigate to the player's position. Now that we've set the AI companion, which is our dog, in the scene, let's set up the player. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to drag and drop the cowboy prefab into the scene. And then one important thing to note is that I'm going to make the tag and I'm going to set it to player. This is going to allow the AI companion to access and find the relevant values from the player's object while in the scene. I'm also going to add a rigid body, which is the physics controller, and I'm setting the freeze rotation to all X, Y, and Z just to make sure that the player doesn't topple over in the terrain. I'm also going to add a box collider so that the player can collide with objects like the pet or the terrain. And then I'm going to create a new C# script. I'm going to title it player controller and set the move speed to 5. And then in the update method, I'm just going to apply the user's input to the player's movement so that when the user clicks WASD or up arrow, down arrow, left or right to move the player around in the scene. This is how you move in your normal games like Fortnite and Minecraft. I'm going to apply that player controller script to the player and set the move speed to 5. Then I'm going to delete whatever camera I already have in the scene, and then let's create a new camera. You can do that by right-clicking and then clicking the camera option, and then drag and drop that inside the player. This is going to allow the camera to follow the player pretty much at all times without a script. It's just going to be a child nested under the parent, which is the player. And then we're going to set the camera to be a little bit above the player and a little bit behind, and rotate downwards. So like you can see in my scene, I set the Y as 3, the Z as -5, and the X rotation as 16 approximately. You can do something similar to that in your own game. And now with all of that out of the way, you should have your own fully working game in which you have an AI smart companion, in my case a dog that completely follows around the player in game. So as you can see, when I'm moving the player around, the dog comes along with it and then stops a little bit so it doesn't collide into it. That's it for today. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.